Crash, the terror of September 11th still weighs on our minds. Structural engineers are being put to the test of a new reality. They must consider what's needed for a building to withstand the impact of planes fully loaded with jet fuel. Tonight, Lena Wynn takes an up-close look at how they're developing ways to save lives in towers that become targets. Lena.
Pat, for years their work has been put to use protecting nuclear reactors and other government buildings, but now the ideas of structural engineers could make commercial buildings safer. The Los Angeles skyline has a magic all its own, one that hasn't changed much in recent years. But if its looks have remained the same, what's inside the buildings has not. Hundreds of LA structures have been made safer since the earthquake of 1994. And now the terrorist attacks of September 11th may force even more changes.
I think the high-rise in Los Angeles will not fare better than those two twin towers in New York City.
Dr. Woody Ju is a professor of structural engineering at UCLA and a researcher for the Department of Defense.
The seismic retrofitting will certainly help those high-rises in resisting the ground motion. But I don't believe they will help much in terms of the jetliner crashing into buildings.
But buildings can be made safer and for less money than you might think. Engineers here in Los Angeles are coming up with new ways to protect the people inside the skyscrapers. Ideas proven to work. Earlier this year, the Department of Defense conducted this test in New Mexico. Scientists built simulated office cubicles and set up a column bearing the load of a 4-story building. Then they set off a bomb. This is what the blast looked like from a mile and a half away. The column stood.
You're talking $2,000 to $4,000 to wrap a column, but when you compare that to the consequence of a building falling down, it seems pretty minuscule.
John Crawford is the president of Haragosian and Case, a Glendale company that helped develop the wrapping on the column. Many of his ideas are used to make buildings safer from bombs and other terrorist attacks.
This happens to be Kevlar. And just having this around the column makes the column very, very much stronger from the blast standpoint.
Crawford says the designs were developed out of earthquake retrofits and include all kinds of plastics and wire that can make a wall stronger.
Are these buildings at risk around here? Well, typically all you have to do is look at how much glass is in these buildings. Glass is very weak from the standpoint of how it responds to a car bomb in the street. That is your first thing to be concerned about.
This computer animation models another of Crawford's creations, a window cover made of Kevlar with a vinyl coating, one that could catch glass when a window is broken, protecting the people inside. Crawford says this plastic molding could be used around a window instead of metal or wood, which in a blast can cause serious injury. Planners for the World Trade Center said they considered the structural impact of a plane when they designed the towers in the 60s. They just didn't consider the burning fuel. It was that fuel at 2,000 degrees that melted the steel frame of the World Trade Center. But engineers say that doesn't have to happen anywhere else.
The technology exists and the cost is going down.
By using ceramic tiles like the ones on space shuttles and other kinds of plastics, we have the ability to keep buildings from burning. The question is, do we want to spend the money? An estimated 20 to 50% of the cost of the building. The first interstate fire in 1988 prompted mandatory sprinkler systems in Los Angeles commercial high-rises. The 1994 earthquake forced us to make skyscrapers more flexible. How will the tragedy of September 11th affect our buildings? It's a question yet to be answered.
The only thing I can be fairly sure of is that if you want to react, I think we've got some good answers for you.
Engineers say the designs can be used in any building, even a home, but they generally recommend them for buildings 60 stories or higher, those that might be targeted by terrorists for greater damage and casualties. Pat and Carrie.